influential than my teachers. And one teacher stands out particularly, Mrs.
Yeah, I'm number 20. Yeah, we can. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Chairman Rick Jaspers is speaking at the 4-H, so he may be a minute or two late, and I'd like to just kind of not start the meeting until he gets here. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all being here.
Okay, committee, thank you for putting up with my being 10 minutes late. I'm very sorry. But as you'll find out, myself, just like yourself, have a hard time telling kids no. And I was just with 500 4-H'ers down at the depot, and I was there to recognize them for all the incredible things they'd done. You know, I had two little young people from, I forget now where they're from, I ran up the hill. They'd just done some stuff during the hurricane. They went a long time, but it was really neat to hear their touching story of what they had done, and you know, hearing the lieutenant governor and myself just compliment 4-H and what they had done. I tell you, just thank you for letting me be late. I appreciate it. Well, let's get on. Let's get this thing started. But I have to take a breath. But yeah, I've just got a few things I'd like to say, committee, and just tell you a little bit about me. I haven't met all of you yet. We've been certainly trying. And I'd really appreciate this opportunity to be the chairman of the Education Committee. This committee is important, and I think you know it. You wouldn't be on this committee unless you had a passion for youth, and I hope it shows, because you'll know, I think if you know a little bit about me, I'm a retired agricultural county agent. I work for the University of Georgia. You know, I was in a small county up in Jasper, and I did 4-H youth work for 29 years. And that means I was in classrooms with 5th, 6th, and 7th graders for 30 years, and it was neat. I got to know them, I got to know teachers, I got to know administrators, and listen to their problems, and a lot of times we'd bring in lunch and eat with them and get to know them, and it was a great experience for me. I don't know if my wife Marsha's in here, but she's a teacher, and you'll get to know her. Is she here? Oh, there she is. Wait, Marsha. Yeah, there you in the back. And she's also the page lady, or a part-time page lady. Her and Dale Burns share that. And my daughter is a high school English teacher in Houston County, and Marsha's dad was a lifelong educator in many different places, and just a real cool guy. Yeah, so this is emotional for me, because I love kids, and I love youth, and you're going to see that in the things that I do and what I say. And yeah, I live in Jasper, got a little small farm. I don't have a dog for the first time in my life, but I do have a granddaughter, which is cool, isn't it, Marcia? We got a great responsibility to Georgia, and I know you feel it serious as I do. You know, a couple of things. My office is in 218. I hope you come see us. It's there in the corner. Where's Emily? Stand up, Emily. If you don't know Emily, you need to get to know her, and that includes you folks out there that have been trying to see me and you can't. She's a gatekeeper, and we really appreciate her. Courtney, you have to stand up. It's right here. Our analyst, as you'll find, committee members, that people are going to bring you bills. You know, you can talk to Courtney. It's like talking to me. I think we're going to be very close working together. Dylan, where's he at? Is he in here? You left him in charge. Oh, boy, he likes being in charge. Dylan is our intern from Columbus State. He is a veteran. He is the awesome guy. He really, what's the best way? Takes charge in our office. But he's a great guy. I think you're going to love meeting Dylan and working with him. We just really appreciate him. And he's studying sociology. You know, are there any teachers here today? Please stand up. Past and present. Retired like my, yay, here we go. We sure appreciate you. And you know, we're talking about teachers, and you know, back in the second time I was in the third grade, yeah, that's right, I failed the third grade. I had a fabulous teacher named Mrs. Holt, and we'll spend some time, you know, because we're going to tell you about something that Randy Nix and Dave Belton have worked on. And in just a second, we're going to go around the room. I think the folks out here in the audience would like to hear just a little bit about you, where you're from, why you're interested in education, and just who your favorite teacher was. So we'll start way down on the end. My good friend from way up in North Georgia.
How you doing?
Great.
Just making sure it works. Hi, I'm Dwayne Hill from District 3, which is Northwest Georgia, Catoosa County. I claim that we're the first defense to keep Tennessee out of Georgia, so that's my claim to fame. But my wife teaches also. She's retired. She retired from both the nursing, but she still does some teaching as well. I have a passion, always had a passion about my kids and taking care of kids and working with a school system. I work with my school superintendent very close. And everything that I do here, I run by her, make sure she's in agreement and that it affects us in a positive way, not a negative way. And I found that to be a good way to do that. She's the expert, I'm not. I have my field of expertise that she's not an expert in, and she asks me those questions if she needs to concerning that, so I figure that's the best way to handle it. And I'm proud to be on this committee and serving with my good friend from Jasper, Georgia, who likes to go eat breakfast with my uncle. Thank you.
All right. Hi, I'm Wes Cantrell, District 22. That's East Cherokee County, South Forsyth, North Fulton. I was a youth pastor for 21 years, taught school in Cobb County for public school for 8 years. My grandparents were educators. My son and daughter-in-law are educators, one in Cherokee, one in Cobb County. My mother served on the state board, appointed by Joe Frank Harris back in the 80s. And so education runs deep in our family, very passionate about it, honored to serve on this committee.
My name is Becky Evans, and I'm from House District 83, which is an all-DeKalb district. And I am a proud product of public schools in Texas, and my 3 children all attended DeKalb Public Schools, and I've been a volunteer there volunteering DeKalb Public Schools for 18 years. So I am excited to serve. I'm a new member of this committee, and my father was a professor, a New Testament professor, so education has been a very high value. My mother was a Christian educator, so they weren't public school teachers, but they were teachers. So I'm looking forward to serving with you all.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Todd Jones, District 25. That's South Forsyth and North Fulton. Wes Cantrell, for some reason, says Forsyth third in your list of counties that you represent. I don't know why. It should be first. But that being stated, in terms of my favorite teacher, it's Mr. Hunley, my biology teacher from 10th grade. And I will always remember Mr. Hunley. And I think teachers have such an amazing impact on your life. You don't remember the books, you don't remember the classrooms, you don't remember the desk or the seats, but you absolutely remember those teachers that made just a significant impact, either educationally or just kind of just helping you become a better person. So really thrilled to be on the committee. Thank you.
My name's Chris Irwin. I will point out, Mr. Chairman, that many of the people in this room I've worked with, or in a matter of fact, I even see one of my past students in the back of the room, and I was blessed to work with everyone sitting in the seat out there. I have started out a career as a teacher in Henry County and progressed up as an administrator in Carroll County, worked with John Zahner out there, I believe, and let me think, then went to Banks County as school superintendent. My favorite teacher, Mr. Chairman, is Miss Sexton in 6th grade, taught me language arts. I was a young man that had other interests than reading, and she turned me on to reading, and she turned me on to understanding what you read, and changed my life with that, and I've always been thankful for her, and always try to mention Miss Sexton when I'm talking to educators.
I'm Randy Nix, House District 69. I've got part of all of Heard County. We had the Heard County Braves, the 2A state champions here we recognize this morning, and the southern part of Carroll County. I enjoy being on this committee. My favorite teacher was my 3rd grade teacher, and I did a video on her. He mentioned that earlier. Some of you may have seen that video. It just had a tremendous impact on my life. I'm not going to try to describe that to you. You can look at the video. But one thing that always comes back to me, when my son was growing up, I always coached him in baseball and football and everything, and we did a lot of things together. And my son's very smart. When he was When he was in college, he looked me in the eye one day and said, "Dad, you missed your calling. You should have been a teacher and a coach."
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Brenda Lopez Romero from District 99, unincorporated Gwinnett, Lilburn, Norcross, Tucker, best district in the state of Georgia. Just had to let y'all know. But I'm a graduate of Cross Keys High School from DeKalb County, and I have two memorable teachers. One of them was Ms. McGowan from 4th grade out of Woodward Elementary, also in DeKalb County, because ever since kindergarten, I tended to have pretty good A's, mostly A's, some B's on the academic side, but on the behavioral side, it was always a lot of ins and U's for following instructions, listening well, playing with others.
It wouldn't talk too much, was it?
That's right. So I say Ms. McGowan because she kind of understood that and would let me do group projects that were intended to be as group projects individually, because I told her that that worked better for me, and she's one of the first teachers that understood that. And so I always appreciate her for kind of letting me have leeway on some of the regular policies. And so, but definitely I also always want to highlight Miss Madame Gluck, my French teacher in high school, because she was the first teacher that told me that I should go to college. And not only that I should go, but she helped me basically teach me how do you fill out a college application? What is FAFSA? Because I sure as heck had no idea what that was, nor that it existed. And she was also the first one that told me that I should be an attorney. And she told me what that meant and what I should do. So I'm ever thankful for all of her support and work that she did, not just with me, but I saw that across all the students that she taught, always inspiring young folks. And so I've always been interested in education as a pathway to social mobility, especially for students of color, students from low-income backgrounds, as is my case. And so that's why I had worked, even as a college student, sort of the pathway to college that implies that you have to finish high school in order to get to college. And so I've always been very interested in making sure that education teaches us makes us good students to make sure that we have accessible and affordable access into higher education as well.
Dot, you're getting by that easily. Tell a little bit about Miss Courtney.
Hi everyone, Courtney George. I'm the House Education Policy Analyst. I've been doing this for 6 years now, I think, and happy to help anyone.
Oh, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Heard County, Georgia, small state champs. They were recognized today. I've got a farm, I'm a lawyer, and I come to Atlanta every day, so that's fun.
I'm Mike Chokus, and my district is 138, and I'm down in southwest Georgia. As a matter of fact, I've probably got one of the longest districts. It stretches from the Flint River to the Chattahoochee River, about 110 miles. I've got a lot of favorite teachers. As a matter of fact, everyone that passed me is my favorite teacher. So I really don't want to list them all. But my passion is education, and it's at all levels. I've been on the board of directors for South Georgia Technical College for going on 20 years, so technical and adult education is passionate to me. My wife is a college professor at Georgia Southwestern State University, so the university system of Georgia, through marriage, is passionate for me. And then I most recently served on the State Board of Education, so K-12 is equally passionate for me. One of the things that I think that our state has done that I'm very proud of and want to help and expand is dual enrollment. We can actually capture the imagination of the children and kind of focus it in a direction towards a fulfilling career. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, and Mr. Chair, I look forward to serving with you on this committee as we've served for some years on various committees. I could tell you that I was an A student like Representative Lopez did, but I wouldn't be telling you the truth. The truth is someone has to carry the C bucket, and so I proudly carried the C bucket. So somebody's got to have the curve. I think what makes me passionate about education is the fact that I was a C student that really should have been an A student. And because I was not a focus student, that's what makes me passionate about it. There's a lot of Mike Glantons out there today that are sitting in classrooms that are not getting the kind of attention and resources that they need to be successful. And so I believe in these things and the wraparound services. So I'm a champion for the C student. And by the way, just for the record, I was an honor student in college, so I know that it can be done. I represent the 75th District of the great state of Georgia, Clayton County. I'm as much an advocate for charter schools as I am public schools. I believe that public schools is where the majority of our kids are going to be educated. I have 18 grandbabies. Every time I say that, my wallet squeezes together. But I have 18 grandchildren, and I have 2 great-grandchildren, Madison and Mason, which are twins, first set of twins for the next generation. And so I have a reason to be passionate and invested in how our educational delivery systems operate and how we're preparing the next generation. Some of you may know that I helped found one of the most successful charter schools in the nation at Elite Scholars Academy Charter School. And so I'm extremely proud of that, and I look forward to serving on this committee as always.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ed Setzler from Northwest Cobb County. I represent the communities of Ackworth and Kennesaw. Been serving on this committee for, time flies, for 14 sessions. It's been my entire time in the legislature I've been serving here. And this was really something I wanted to be a part of my entire time here, because this is part of the core of what we do as a state, is provide a great education for kids no matter what district they live in, no matter where they live. My wife is a AP World History teacher in high school. She also teaches Latin. Before that, she was a school counselor. So just as she teaches in Cobb County now, when I was in the military in South Georgia, she taught in she was a counselor in a rural Georgia district, had a 10-by-10 unair-conditioned office, and parked in the grass, because that was the resources in 1998 that were available to that district. I won't name it, but really shaped our view of the distinctives across the state of Georgia, the places that really have the resources and the places that need our help as a state to give those kids an opportunity as well. My mom was an elementary school secretary, so I mean, just she's the very picture of that. In fact, she still drives around with a license plate that says we support public education with an apple on it. They live in South Carolina. So all my in-laws are public school educators, so whether it's the Thanksgiving table, we're always hearing things. And my passion really is to do 2 things. Since I've been serving, is to give teachers an environment to make education great for kids. Because I hear teachers that are in settings where they control all the cards, and they control their classroom, they control really all the factors around them, and how high their quality of life and their satisfaction is, even though they work till 2 o'clock in the morning grading papers. They love what they do. I want to have every teacher in Georgia love what they do like that. And I feel like we so often create barriers to that. You know, I can confess, having been here since the Purdue administration through Deal, and now we've done things and undone things. I see Jimmy here. There are others who have been around this committee for years. We undo and do things, and I just hope we can get to a place of stability where teachers can thrive in their classrooms, and we just set them up for success. And then lastly, that every kid gets an option. I mean, I believe in educational freedom for parents, because I don't believe that government ought to assign parents to an outcome for their kid they can't control when they have no choices. I believe providing parents options and choices, whether it's in the public system or other options, creates a circumstance where kids, many of our high schools in Cobb County are great high schools by the numbers, but there's still individual kids that aren't being served well. And how do we find options in a, quote, great high school for a parent that school's not working for that kid, to give them a chance to make it work for this young person that's, you know, crying at home to their parents every day. They're being torn up inside by somewhere not working for them. We owe it to kids to give them an environment that can work no matter who they are, no matter what their strengths and weaknesses are. And sometimes being in a great school district doesn't mean that you get it. And sometimes being in a bad school district doesn't mean that you can't have a great experience. So I want to give, that's just been my passion, Mr. Chairman. And my favorite teacher, Mr. Fulmer. who was a graduate of a school of theology and taught me physics and chemistry. And just was a great intellectual mentor. So, Mr. Fulmer, appreciate you.
Good afternoon. I'm Valencia Stovall, House District 74 in Clayton County, the cities of Morrow, Lake City, Forest Park, College Park, and Riverdale. And like I always tell my constituents and everyone, I'm a state elected official. So when I come to the Capitol, and even when I'm not at the Capitol, I have to be concerned about the entire state of Georgia. And with education, I'm not an educator. I don't have any of my aunts or uncles that I know of that are educators. My parents were not educators, but they were educators from us being children. So I consider myself the first educator of my two children. I have a 22-year-old daughter and a 27. His birthday is next week on Valentine's Day, so he'll be 27. So I consider myself an educator. I might not have gone to school, but I went to the Hard Knock School of Raising Children. So all of you all who know how that goes, you're deemed an educator by Representative Stovall. But I enjoy being on this committee because sharing some of the same things with my colleagues when it comes to education, and knowing that every child will turn 18, whether we're ready for them to turn 18 or not. And my whole thing is, are they prepared? Have we done what we needed to do at the state capitol and in our communities to make sure that each child has that opportunity? And so because of that, I am a strong school choice supporter, not for one particular style, but whatever's going to be best for that parent and for that student. As a result, it's going to be best for the state of Georgia. And I didn't have a particular teacher. Just all of them did some positive things in my life to make sure that I was developed as a student. I did talk a lot, got in trouble. Even in high school, had 2 Fs in conduct. And so one of the teachers now is my Facebook friend, and we laughed together, and I said, I sure appreciate you giving me that F in conduct. I said, but now I'm able to use it for a greater good across the state of Georgia. And so I'm just excited to be on the committee as always, being able to share, and I like listening to what others' experiences are. I think that makes us better, make us be able to make better choices when it comes down to legislation. And I definitely enjoy hearing from our rural communities and legislators because I was born in Atlanta, raised, even though I live in Clayton County, but then wasn't in the country, then was raised on the farm. So I like to hear what's going on in rural Georgia so that it can make me a better legislator and help me to be able to help all the children in the state.
Thank you. Dominic Laricchia, District 169. I serve down in South Georgia, Coffee County, Bacon County, and Jeff Davis County. And I have kind of an interesting story. And I was married, beautiful wife and children, successful business. I was 33 years old when I really woke up and recognized the value and importance of education. I dropped out of high school in the 11th grade. Going into the 12th grade, was making good grades. I just, for whatever reason, couldn't connect the dots between what I was learning and what I thought I wanted to do with my life. I was an outdoors guy, loved to work in construction, and my brother and I built a successful construction company and subsequently ended up in the termite and pest control business. And me and the Lord spent a little bit of time talking about needing to go back and finish my education, and one of my dear friends was a GED teacher. And I said, you know what, God, if I see her again, I'm going to talk to her. I need to finish my education. That night I walked into church. She was the only one in the building. Her name is Benita Lott, and I talked to her, and she helped me through just some of the other basic things that you needed to go back and learn, and she helped me through that. But after getting elected, I thought, maybe I can bring a little bit of a different perspective to our conversation about education, and I hope to be able to do that. And I have my fair share of unsatisfactories in behavior, but I enjoyed the subjects in math and English, language arts, and history, and so just kind of a little bit of a different story, and hope to be able to add some value to this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Tommy Benton. I represent House District 31, which is most of Jackson County. I've been on this committee. This will be my 15th year. Seen a lot of changes in education. Very passionate for public education because I know what public education teachers do because I'm a retired educator. I look forward to serving on this committee with Chairman Jaspers. I know he's very passionate about public education as well. I have two favorite teachers. Both of them are high school teachers. One was a lady by the name of Vivian Herbert. She taught me American history and government and instilled a love of those two subjects in me. And the other one was Mr. Norman Cooksey, and he was my industrial arts and mechanical drawing teacher. And I love that class. I still like making things out of wood and metal and that type of stuff. But it's those two people instilled in me the values to go on and be a school teacher. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Matthew Wilson. I represent District 80, which is Brookhaven, Sandy Springs, Chamblee, Dunwoody, and City of Atlanta. I am a product of Georgia Public Schools all the way through law school. I grew up in Spalding County and Griffin, Spalding schools, went to UGA for undergrad and law school, and am a big believer of Georgia Public Schools. I practice law in Brookhaven now, but before I went to law school, I taught middle school for several years, 6th grade math and science, and learned way more from those 6th graders than I did in law school, I can tell you that. My favorite teacher is my 4th grade teacher, Jean Ann O'Neill, who I'm still in touch with. She, once a week, did a quiz and quizzed us on current events, and at an early age got me thinking about, there's all this other stuff going on in the world, and started paying attention to the news at a very early age. So I continue to thank her for doing that. I'm thrilled to be on this committee, and I appreciate it. I look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name's Bee Wynn, and I represent District 89, which is Atlanta DeKalb. And I am the daughter of former refugees from Vietnam. And when they came here, my parents came here in the late 70s. They literally had nothing except for the clothes on their back. And my father's first job was working in a mental institution as an orderly, making $3.35 an hour. And he believed that education was the key to getting out of poverty. He would go home and study on this makeshift cardboard box at night in the basement apartment of his landlord. And he graduated from college in 2.5 years, speaking almost no English, getting an engineering degree. And so he emphasized the value of education to us all of our lives. I graduated from a public high school in Augusta, Georgia. I had a really, really great public high school education. My two favorite teachers are my 8th grade teacher, Mrs. McLean, and then my 11th and 12th grade AP Lit teacher, Mr. Haywood, and they both led me astray on this very rocky path of getting a bachelor and master's in English. Yes, and now I'm a state rep. No, it made me a better writer, a better reader, a better communicator, and it's been a skill that's been fluid in all the things that I do. And outside the legislature, I actually work in nonprofit through a nonprofit I started, and I work in a DeKalb public high school. I've in school every single week for the last 10 years in a classroom with kids who need life skills support and mentorship. And that public school happens to be in Representative Wilson's district, Cross Keys High School, and Representative Lopez, it's her alma mater. And when she spoke about her experience in public schools, it makes me really emotional because the young women that I work with, they oftentimes don't see what they are capable of achieving. There are a lot of limitations on what they envision for themselves because nobody tells them that they can be all of these things. They know that Representative Lopez, as our first Latina, represented representative in our Georgia General Assembly. They know she's a graduate of that school. And in fact, that school only had a 42% graduation rate when I first started working there 10 years ago. It's over 70% now. And so to have somebody like her sit in this seat is extraordinary for the young people in that public high school who have been shown most of their lives that we don't care about them because we haven't resourced them with all the things that they need to be successful. But it also shows us that when we do invest in students, you get people like Representative Lopez. And the teacher that she mentioned, Madam Gluck, her French teacher, is actually one of the sponsors for our nonprofit for the first 6 years. And she would stay after school without getting additional money because that's how much she cared. And a lot of educators do that. They stay after school for their kids because they know those are critical hours in which kids need support. And they do it without getting an extra dollar. And they're already underpaid and they're already overburdened with their workload. So I'm very passionate about supporting our Georgia public schools.
Thank you, Chairman. Jaspers, I'm number 9. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Miriam Paris, and I represent House District 142, which is Macon-Bibb. And I love my city. It's home for me. I love Atlanta too, you know, the other Georgia, but yeah, I got that right on my radar, always. Macon is 2 to 2.5 hours from anywhere in the state, so we're a great place to have conventions and, you know, just to come and have fun when you want to. I am happy to be on this committee because we get an opportunity to influence and fortify the future of this state as well as this country. I think through education, that is how we're going to break all of the barriers. Well, we won't break them all, but we can break some as we go, the things that are separating us and dividing us today. I think a lot of ignorance is going on in the world today. It's going on in our country. It's going on in our state. And it's just a lack of education. People just aren't influenced. I mean, they aren't informed. They're influenced. And I think that through our committee, we have an opportunity to make sure that our children are not influenced, but that they are well informed as to what is true and what's not. My favorite teachers, I have 3 of them. I had 2 in elementary school. Mrs. Jackson taught me to love who I was and to not be afraid of who I am. Mrs. Hamrick was my 5th grade teacher, and she taught me to really just love education, that education was fun, that it was enlightening. You know, I really hated bugs, and she made us do one of those bug projects. And I was like, oh. But I got it done. And once I got it done, I didn't hate them so much. You know, I was like, oh, okay. They're cool when they're dead. No. But anyway, and then I had a tremendous English teacher when I was in high school. And she would get up and she would dissect sentences, you know, just break them down, just deconstruct them. And we would just be like mesmerized. And I didn't know what was going to happen, you know, after she finished because she was so intense. So, and for me, English is extremely important. It's important to know proper word placement so that you can communicate, not so that you are understood, but so that you are not misunderstood. I really love being here. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for this time.
Why, hello. Thank you, Chairman Jaspers, for allowing us to share, and this has been very enlightening for me. And I'm excited that you're our chair, and I've been on the committee with you before, and I love your passion and your transparency in being who you are. So I look forward to us working together. So I am a native Atlantan. Yes, a Grady baby. Yes. I actually graduated from the historic J.C. Murphy High School in Atlanta that was on Clifton. And if you don't know that school, it's because now they call it CREAM. And I understand that the city of Atlanta had decided to close it, but we're going to keep moving. So kind of an interesting for me background. So I was the fifth of 6 children. My oldest sister, I believe, was one of the first groups that integrated and went to Coyne Middle School, and they were in sort of the early years of Murphy High School when integration. And over the last couple of years, I learned that I didn't realize this, that Murphy was one of the first integrated schools in Atlanta. I didn't know that. So anyway, so interesting background. For me, we were always taught that education is important. My mom worked in our elementary schools, so part of the way I am probably is her fault. She was one of those parents that was going to be at the school. My mom never learned to drive, but she was at everything. So I understood how important school was and being involved and engaged. As I was getting ready to go to college, even though one of my older sisters had gone to college, I really didn't know what that was going to be like, or really anyone that was guiding us through it. So one day we were in my high school band director's office, who, by the way, was my favorite teacher, and he got a phone call from someone that needed a bassoon player, and that is how I ended up at Jackson State on a music scholarship, where I had no intentions in studying music, and I actually wanted to be an attorney. And my high school counselor told me that I needed to do something else because black women needed something else to fall back on. So I was good with numbers. So I decided I'd be an accountant. So I'm an accountant. And I said, as God would have it, I'd end up being a lawmaker. So even though I think I knew what I wanted to be, but someone influenced me to find something else. But in divine providence, we end up where we're supposed to be. And so now being here, I just understand how important education is in driving the whole child to being who they should be, so that they can make a contribution to our community. So I think that is probably what is driving me. And community is everything. And I do not believe that the income or the complexion of my community should dictate the quality of that education. So as a parent, I'm going to fight like hell to get what my children need. And as a community leader, I'm going to fight like hell to get what my community needs, which is why I'm a strong advocate of public education. And if we put all the energy that we do into alternatives, if we did that in those community schools, we would have thriving communities throughout Georgia.
Chairman Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. Do apologize for being late. I got 4 bills, and all 4 of them are right now to attend. But I'm a school board member for 8 years. My mom was a teacher. My daughter's a teacher. I've learned a lot as being a school board member and about what the community can do if it joins together. I'm very blessed to be from Morgan County. Pat Stokes was one of the superintendents that we're very, very proud of. That's just a lot of good folks getting together. And when good folks get together, you can make a real positive influence. And I just appreciate being on this committee.
And last but not least, Representative Howard. You're 13.
Oh, skip all the way over here?
Well, we've all done them all, and you're next. You're our last but not least.
Oh, I thought you may want to go back over everybody so I can hear. So we're basically introducing ourselves. Okay. My name is Henry Wayne Howard, and I'm from Augusta, Georgia. I was born and raised there. I've lived in the state of Georgia all my life, lived in Augusta all my life, done some traveling. Our family is self-employed there in Augusta. Got 7 siblings, all went through public schools there in Augusta, and we've been involved in the political arena for over 50 years. My dad and you know, coming up in our house, you just knew that you had to look at things, how things operate under the political arena in order to get things done. And we were taught that, to watch how politicians and elected officials vote. And I never thought I would be here doing what I'm doing now. But the people around me were always a lot of elected officials, and I would advocate on their behalf for doing elections. And it just sort of got in my blood, and I couldn't run from it. When my dad passed, I tried to run, and I couldn't hide. And you know, when ladies, and I'm talking about mature ladies, come and start beating you across the head and saying, "You got to do this," you know that's some kind of calling that's coming after you, and you can't run. And so I didn't. I chose not to run any longer because my dad wanted me to get into this earlier, but I said no. You know, sort of like getting baptized. You say, "Well, I'll wait. I'll do it tomorrow," and you keep putting it off, and it never happens. And after we lost him, you know, I knew, and those licks started hitting me upside the head from those ladies in the community. I knew it was time. So, and what led me to the education committee is, you know, when I looked around our delegation in that area, we had no one representing us on the education committee, and I began to ask questions why, and let me be perfectly honest with you. Some of the answers I got was, you can't raise money, you know, on the education committee. Lobbyists don't give you money. And I thought that was a really crazy answer, and that drove me to this committee even more. So, you know, because I'm not here for that. You know, that's you got to be concerned about children, and that's where I found my interest in looking for how can we help kids, and I've enjoyed it. You know, working with Randy and Nix and Brooks when he was here, and all of the other members that have been here. Ed, you know, we may not always agree, but we find ways to communicate our way through things and get to the best outcome. So I like that about this committee. That's my story.
Well, thank you. We certainly have a lot of wisdom. I think you'd agree. We were talking about favorite teachers there a moment ago, and Miss Emily, if you want to tune it up for us. You know, last year, Chairman Nix and Belton worked on some videos, some YouTube videos that were a great opportunity. I think all the committee, I think there are 5 of them out there. Is that right, Chairman Nix? And we're going to play Chairman Nix's. Yeah, we just surprising him, and just let you take a look at that. We want to make sure that all of you take advantage of this. We'll be organizing that the next week or two to give you the opportunity. It's done here. Go ahead, Ms. Emily.
In my 66 years, I've been fortunate to have a lot of great role models and mentors in my life, but none were more influential than my teachers. And one teacher stands out particularly, Mrs. Avis Tidwell. Mrs. Tidwell was my 3rd grade teacher. It's been almost 60 years, but I can still visualize very fondly her room. I can hear her voice. I can remember the enthusiasm she had for what she was doing, and I can remember her sternness, which she could use when she needed to, which quite often for me she did need to use it. I came from a home that had some things that were a little less than desirable, and she provided for me a great deal of structure. She had very high expectations of me, and she never would accept less than my very best. As I grew older, I was able to maintain a relationship with Mrs. Tidwell. Even though we moved away from the community, she spent the last several years of her life in a nursing home, and I called her every year on her birthday. One year, her birthday fell on a Friday, and I called her several times, and she didn't answer, and I was concerned about that. But on Monday, I called again, and fortunately, she answered. And we had just a great conversation. I was able to tell her how much I appreciated her and how much I loved her, and she very graciously told me how proud she was of me and how proud she was that she had had the opportunity to teach me. That was so great that I made that call because just a few days later, Mrs. Tidwell passed away. For you teachers out there, I just want to give you my very heartfelt thanks for what you do. You love, you teach, you change lives with what you do. And I want you to remember that you are so very important. Never take for granted how important you are, because for some child out there, you are Mrs. Tidwell. Mrs. Tidwell touched the lives of so many students, and it's interesting, after she retired, one year the yearbook for the school was dedicated to her, and I'd like to read that dedication because I think this really captures the essence of Mrs. Tidwell and so many of the great teachers that we have in Georgia. It says, she helped lay the cornerstone of the foundation of life for so many individuals. She asked only for the opportunity to present the key that opened the door of knowledge. By persuasion, she urged you to open the door to which she had given you the key. Once inside, her gentle determination drove you to seek that which she had to offer, knowledge and understanding. Her dedication to her profession, teaching, compels the senior class of 1969 to dedicate this yearbook to Mrs. Abbess Tidwell.
Thank you, Chairman Nix. Isn't that very beautiful? And yay. And we'll all have the opportunity to do that. I've got just a few more comments. We got to vote on our rules. But I guess for members who are still here, I know the judiciary's meeting right now too, but there's a lot of people out there in the audience, and there were more when we had the joint meeting. And those are folks that want to give you guidance. And I've been this is the third chairmanship I've had, and vice chairman in health for a while. And, I hope you understand their role, and, that they're there to promote sometimes information and give good, balanced information at times. But members, you must verify. And I wish everybody was in here so they could hear that. I'll say that probably at every meeting, but it's up to you to verify and to know that what's been told to you is right. You got to take time and study. This is a committee that will demand that, just like some others do, that you've got to take time to do it. But let's get to some business. Okay, if you look in the blue folder at your desk, you got the rules of the committee. Every committee has them. They're all very much similar. These are the rules that the committee and the subcommittee will operate by. Pretty much the same as I saw in the file from previous years. I think Chairman Coleman over the years narrowed it down pretty good. I think you probably already looked at them, I'd imagine. And we'll just give you a minute, and then I'll ask for a motion to do pass in just a minute. If you give everybody just a second. Yes. Yes, sir. Okay, I'll be proud to entertain a motion to do pass.
Do pass.
Sure. In the second, all those in favor? Oh, there's any discussion, excuse me. I'm sorry I jumped the gun there. None here. Have to have all those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? The opposite? They're done. Also in your book, let's look at it. Well, thank you, and that's what we'll operate by. I put a picture guide in your book, and we'll need it for a few weeks, but then we'll kind of know who we all are. Some of y'all need to get a new picture. You don't have to, but that's certainly up to you. Also, if you look, we handed out the other day a subcommittee guide, similar to what we did last year. You know, there are 3 of them. You know, subcommittees are very important in education. It allows for longer debate, looking at bills. As Chairman Alan Powell, who I worked with many years in public safety, said this is our opportunity to perfect a bill. A committee, that's what I want the subcommittee chairman and vice chairman to do. When we bring a bill to the full committee, I'd love to see it done so that we're moving quickly and without a whole lot of debate. These subcommittees are very important. You look at, you know, on academic achievement, Mike Chokus, chairman, and Ms. Valencia, vice chairman. Support, Wes Cantrell and Dominic, vice chairman, and innovation, Dave Belton and Mike Glanton. And you see your names through there also. But they're just very, very important. At this moment, I'm going to yield to Vice Chairman Chokus. He was going to assign some bills to committee now.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oh. Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm excited. I'm really excited about being chair of the Academic Achievement Committee and for the opportunity to serve. And on a personal note, I've enjoyed already working with you, Chairman, just because we've been friends for years. But the first order of business I'd like to do is assign put the bill assignments out there so that everybody would know. House Bill number 1, it will be assigned to academic support. House Bill 32 is academic achievement. House Bill 59, also academic achievement. House Bill 69 is academic support. House Bill 78, academic achievement. And House Bill 130 to academic support. Okay, good. And as I said earlier, that I had the opportunity to serve on the state school board, and so there's some very fine people that work for our state on the state school board, and of course in the Department of Education. We've got several of them out there right now, and I'd like for the ones that work with the Department of Education to stand up real quick, like, so we can recognize you and thank you for your service. And I would also like to invite everyone to a legislative meet and greet luncheon on Wednesday, February 20th, from noon to 1:30. It's going to be on the 15th floor conference room in the East Tower. So I hope that all the members of the board can be there. I'd like for y'all to write it down, and I'll keep track with attendance for my subcommittee, just to let y'all know. But if y'all could be there, it would be great. Thank you very much. And Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, sir. Also, committee members, the folks from TCSG provided us with a nice little notebook. I use them exclusively. If you find mine left somewhere, please don't read it. Make sure I get it back. I've got my name in the front. It says, please do not read. Get it to Rick.
Get it to your wife. She'll take.
Yeah, please get to Marsha. She's at the page desk. I appreciate that. But no, it's a great thing just to keep track of questions you have in meetings. One thing we're going to do at committee, you know how we've all been in the floor when the committee chairman gets up and says, education committee's going to meet at 1 o'clock, and I'm going to tell you right now, don't do that. Didn't do it for higher ed, won't do it for this. But we are trying something a little bit different. You got a text message from me earlier today. And I hope you got it. We're working on perfecting it a little bit. We learned that you can't put more than 20 on a text message chain. They will tell you that when they are. Anything that needs to come from me will come to you as a text message. We'll also send you an email and a note at your desk. So, but getting up and telling you, that if you see me stand up to make an announcement on education, something's changed. And I will also use the text because we all use it a lot. The committee dinner, you see the notice in your file. You know, we're fortunate to have a lot of friends who collectively will do a joint committee dinner on March 13th at 2 Urban Licks. And it's going to be a lot of fun, I do believe, especially with their senators. They'll be there. Ms. Courtney, did I forget anything? I think we got it. We're good? Any committee members have any comments we'd like to move? Well, at that moment, we're going to adjourn this full committee meeting, and in about 10 minutes, when I need, if you can stay, you know, you heard Representative Belton say he had a bill in another committee. His bill will be heard today. Those who are on academic achievement, if you'll hang out just a little bit, when he gets back, we'll move immediately on his bill and give him the opportunity to speak about it. One other thing, committee, I do ask for a detailed sheet when somebody presents a bill to our committee. When they give it to us, I make them fill it out. And it lets me understand a little bit about where they're coming from. And that little sheet's probably going to evolve just a little bit because we got to know. And we want to see it in writing. We don't want you to come up to the vice chairman, myself, in the hallway saying, hey, man, I want to talk to you about my bill. First thing you're going to do is fill out this form. So Ms. Courtney and I, subcommittee chairman, will know what you're talking about. I think it makes it a little bit fairer for us. And I look forward certainly to working with all of y'all in the next couple of years and see if we can do good for Georgians and our kids. And our meeting's adjourned. Thank you.